regular, very regular, very sincere in writing your assignments and all. I really appreciate and thank you for your interest. Hope you are following and somewhat you are understanding. Okay, so every class understanding it's very difficult. But anyway, sometimes it will go very fast and sometimes it is very slow. Sometimes because of our situations, we may not able to concentrate on the class. But anyway, you have PPTs with you. What you can do is, based on that one, you can even study more because lots and lots of the material is available in the on the web internet, and you have go through it and not only doing your assignments, and please also study some of the books and also the websites you can go through so that you can have more knowledge about it. So for last week we have studied Torah, some of the books like Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Levites, and all. With Deuteronomy, we finished. That means the law of Moses. We finished. Today we are going to prophets, Nabim. This is called Nabim. So Nabim means the prophets. Okay. So before that, we see with Deuteronomy. With Deuteronomy, those 5 books are called Torah. That means law of Moses. The law is actually is a like leaders. Leaders can be called like Moses is the leader. Later Joshua, and then after Judges. So those are the people actually the leaders of Israel. And the second office we see Levites. Levites, mostly they help in worshiping God. Those people are actually called uh, those people actually help people to they will mediate people and God. Okay, so the next people comes prophets. Okay, so the prophets also they played a major role in the life of Israel. So whenever God wanted to speak to the people, God used to speak through the prophets. Okay, whenever God wanted to correct the people, exhort the people, whenever He sends messages, He used to send those messages through the prophets. Okay, so when Israel people they entered the promised land, Joshua took them to the promised land, and Moses died before entering into the promised land, and Joshua took them, Joshua and Caleb, the old generation people, and then all the old generation people in 40 years of time, they all died, and the new young generation entered into the land. And when they entered, so leaders like Joshua and Caleb and all, they helped them to divide the land, and each tribe occupied different places, and they fought with the Canaanites and all. So once these people died, okay, so then the judges came into leadership. There are 12 judges came into leadership. Some of them are very prominent. Some of them we don't know. Maybe one verse, and 2 verses are there about them. We don't know much about them. Few of them like Samson, Deborah, and these people, and few other judges actually we know about them. They actually helped Israelite people to fight with their surrounding enemies, surrounding neighbors. Okay, so they occupied the land. They occupying the land, it took them many years. Okay, so then it was ongoing struggle with the neighboring people. So then the people thought uh, they need king. Okay, so like it is there in the neighboring countries, they also need a king. They thought king will help them to uh, politically it will be like an ornament for them, and so uh, but they are seeing at the neighboring places, they also thought they should have one king. But God is not happy about that thought. But however, God provides them Saul and later David, and like so many kings comes out of the family of David. Okay, so this is the history that we see uh, till they uh, taken into the Babylon captive. Okay, so before Judah went into the Babylon captive, uh, Israel, later after Solomon, there are the country, the nation divided into two. One is Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom. Northern Kingdom is actually consists of 10 tribes. Southern Kingdom is consisted into two tribes. When the Northern Kingdom uh, went into the exile, Assyrian exile, and they actually lost fully. They actually, as a nation, they could not exist after that. Okay, so now Southern Kingdom, after few years, they went into Babylon, and they stayed for 70 years, and they came back again, and like that they have their own struggle. So this is the history. And during this time, okay, so the prophets came. How the prophets helped them, that's what we are going to see. So prophets can be divided into the role of prophets. What the role of the prophets we see? The Old Testament prophets played a crucial role in shaping Israel's history and religious thought. Okay, so the principles and uh, whatever they know, the rituals and all, when the people reminding them again and again, then only people will remember. Otherwise, it is very, we tend to forget the things. That's right. That's what, even if we don't read Bible regularly, we don't, follow uh, according to God's will, God's laws. Okay. That's what, uh, these prophets used to come regularly, and they were shaping the thought of people, religious thought and historical history. They served as God's spokesperson, delivering message of warning, judgment, and hope to the people of Israel. Okay. The prophets were often outspoken critics of social injustice and religious idolatry, and their words often fell on deaf ears. Okay, so people, leaders, and also the people were not uh, ready to listen to the prophets. Okay, however, their message continues to applicable today, offering guidance and wisdom to individuals and communities. Communities means our churches alike. So the prophets of Old Testament are divided into two main groups. One is former prophets, and the second is latter prophets. Okay. So previously I didn't mention about this one, but anyway, when I was studied Old Testament many years back, the former prophets, what I studied as the historical books of Bible, but those books are actually called as former prophets. So that those prophets, former prophets, we are going to see today, and latter prophets probably the two sessions, major and minor prophets. Major prophets also hopefully we'll finish today. Okay, we'll do that. And I wanted to go very brief about the books of the of these former prophets and also latter prophets. If possible, some of the books like Isaiah, Amos, and other books, probably we will study extensively later. Okay, if time permits us. Okay, so we do that one. And but now, as a survey, we are going to see things, the books and all, very briefly, and we'll go forward. Okay, the former prophets are four historical books that tells the story of Israel from conquest of Canaan and Joshua to the exile in Babylon. Okay, so these books are Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Second Samuel, Ruth. Ruth actually in some of the divisions we don't see Ruth, because Ruth actually comes under Judges. Okay, so when in Nabim, that means Hebrew Bible, Ruth is actually not as a book; it is actually part of Judges. So, but in a Christian Old Testament division, we will see Ruth as a separate book. Okay, so First Samuel, Second Samuel also is one book that is called Samuel. Ruth comes under Judges. Okay, Kings and Second Kings also comes under one king only. Okay. So that's how we see in Hebrew canonical division. But in any way, in Old Testament Christian division is Joshua, Judges, First Samuel, Second Samuel, Ruth, First Kings, and Second Kings. All prophets were placed at the beginning of the Hebrew canon, not written earlier than the latter prophets. This we need to note down. Okay, so the former prophets are not they are not later than the latter prophets. In fact, some of the former prophets are written later than some of the latter prophets. This is what we need to understand. Okay, so the former prophets emphasizes the importance of following God's laws and the consequences of disobedience. Okay, they were also show how God's faithfulness to His people is unwavering even in the midst of their unfaithfulness. Okay, so God made a covenant with the people, and God made the covenant with Abraham, Isaac, uh, uh, Jacob, Joseph, and all the forefathers, fathers of Israel, and He very faithful to the covenant with the forefathers. So that's why He shows mercy, faithfulness, though they are unfaithful to Him, though they are turning away from Him. Okay, so though they are disobedience, so that's what we see. Former prophets are also known as the historical books because they tell the story of Israel's people when they entered the promised land until the exile of the kingdom of Israel 722 BC. Okay, this is the history from the time of they entered into Canaan till the time of 2 BC. Okay, so 722 BC, what happened? The northern kingdom, which is called Israel, is actually went into the hands of Assyrians. They took away, and after that we don't see northern kingdom again. Okay, so it is assimilated, like they mix with the people. Okay, there are few books. Those books we are going to see. Book of Joshua tells the story of Israelites conquest of the promised land under the leadership of Joshua, Moses' successor. Okay, the book emphasizes the importance of obedience to God and once again is the dangers of idolatry. Okay,
You see, uh, Moses actually struggled a lot to bring them all the people from Ramses, that means from Egypt. He brought the people, and in between, there is a lot of murmuring against the leadership of Moses. People thought, they wanted to go back to they actually preferred to be stay there in Egypt as a as a uh, as a slaves rather than coming to Canaan as a free people. Okay, because in between they could see struggles. Sometimes they don't have water, they don't have food and all. Okay, there were a lot of murmuring, and there is a rebellion against Moses. Moses also at one time he was actually very very patient leader, but one time he shows his anger against them, and which actually God consider it is a sin. Okay, so the same thing actually Joshua also faces with the people. That's what we see. Joshua also uh, try to establish them and make them to worship God, and keep the covenant with them and all. But they also feel very they become uh, disobedient to God and all. But he emphasizes the importance of obedience to God. Okay, he warns against the dangers of idolatry. So the idolatry is one of the most dangerous uh, thing, which is actually takes people away from God. Okay, so then Joshua took as a stand. He says that I and my family will serve God. Okay, he take a stand. I and my family will serve our God with all our heart and our strength. Okay, so and whoever with me come to my side, like that. Uh, he warns the people. Okay, that's what we see in book of Joshua. Then comes the book of Judges. Okay, there are 12 judges who ruled Israel people at one point of time. Every time when there is a need, you God is to raise one judge among them, and he actually fights for them. The book of Judges tells the story of Israel's people during the time of anarchy and political turmoil. Okay, after Joshua, after Joshua passes away, died, people thought, there is no central leadership. So all the tribes, they were in fact, they are in anarchy. There's no central leadership, and there is a political turmoil and all. And that time, the book of describes the cycle of sin, punishment, and repentance, and it highlights the importance of judges who were both capable leaders and God-fearing men. So God raised God-fearing men. Okay, so though they are actually, some people like some of them are they think that they are not able to fight against the enemies, but God encourages them that He is with them, and so they actually fought for the people of Israel. So like that, the whole book, many stories we see the faithful people, obedient people. God actually uses them as leaders for Israel people who helped Israel people. Next book, Ruth, wonderful book. Okay, so wonderful story. It's like uh, what we can say. It's like a love story with God. Okay, uh, Ruth. I can say that from Old Testament. This is one of the book actually I read many times. I even studied. I took Bible studies, and so this is one of my favorite books. One of my favorite books. This is a wonderful book. I think you all of if you are not studied, you please do Bible studies on the characters which is there in the book. The book of Ruth is the short story about a Moabite woman named Ruth who converted to Judaism and married a Hebrew man named Boaz. The book is a heartwarming story of love, loyalty, and redemption. See, Ruth is actually a Moabite. Okay. Uh, do you remember that when people enter Canaan, they actually stayed before entering into the Canaan promised land. They stayed near to Moab. Okay, they camped, at the deserts of Moab for many months or many, you will probably few few years. I don't know. So here actually near to that place, Nebo, the mountain Nebo, Moses actually died there. Okay, that's what you please remember. This is the land, maybe the nation, maybe the country. From there, Ruth came. Ruth was actually uh, she's a okay, the primary priest of that the temple of that the people of Moab. So she is the princess and also the priest of that temple, and uh, she was actually vexed with the human sacrifices there uh, in the temple, and she fell in love with this Israelite, and she uh, came to know about God through him, and she learns about the Ten Commandments and all those things, and then she fell in love with this boy, and because through this boy she came to know the Lord, and that means she fell in love with God through this Israelite. Okay, so that's how her story starts. This is wonderful book, and just go through the background of the book of Ruth and enjoy this book. That means you learn something about this book. Okay, next comes book of Samuel. Uh, the book of Samuel tells the story of the rise and fall of the monarch in Israel. So then after Ruth, what you will see? Kings. Okay, so the last judge, maybe you can call Samuel. Samuel actually, through Samuel, God appoints, maybe anoints Saul as a leader. And after that, um, David also was anointed by Samuel. This actually tells the story of fall of monarchy in Israel. The story focuses on the lives of Samuel, Saul, and David. Israel's first three kings. Okay, the book emphasizes the importance of choosing a righteous king who will rule in accordance with God's will. Okay, so that's what the whole Samuel you see. Samuel 1 and Samuel 2 also the same. In Samuel 2, actually, you see that, the uh, Saul's, Solomon's entry and all. The Book of Kings. The Book of Kings tells the story of divided kingdom of Israel from the reign of King Solomon until the exile of northern kingdom of Israel in 722 BC. The book emphasizes the dangers of idolatry and warn against the consequences of disobedience to God. Okay. So, uh, the kingdom, northern kingdom actually, see, the leadership actually always matters. Okay. When God appoints us as leaders in the church or in the society, God uses as instrument to empower other people. to bring people to the God. No? So, but unfortunately, the northern kingdom, most of the kings are actually idolatry. They turned away from God. They become very dangerous. Very uh, what we can say, very destructive kings, because they actually uh, fallen into sin, and they fall into the idolatry and all. So that's why they they totally wiped out after 720 BC, the northern kingdom. But the southern kingdom, God made a covenant with uh, David to establish his kingdom. Uh, most of the kings actually very God-fearing kings who actually ruled southern kingdom. So that's why the still God actually was faithful to this, southern kingdom. Those things, those stories we see, see in the book of Kings. So what are the themes that we can see here? The themes: farmer prophets, the importance of obedience to God, dangers of idolatry, need for righteous leadership, the cycle of sin, punishment, and repentance, the importance of faith and hope in times of adversity. Okay, when there is an adversity, faith plays a major role. Now, faith gives hope in times of adversity. So, these are the themes that we see in the books of prophets. Okay. Farmer prophets plays a crucial role in Old Testament narrative because these are the historical books. Okay. They provide a historical context for the rise of prophets and the ongoing struggle of Israel and its neighbors. So if you understand properly all this historical books, the farmer prophets, we can understand what is happening today. Okay, the struggle of Israel and Gaza. Okay, Hamas and other neighbor. I think nearly presently and nearly 32 countries, neighboring countries are there. They're against to these people from that day to this day. So you can see the historical background of that uh, farmer prophets, those books, and also present history. Okay, you can link. Okay, that's what the prophets and the ongoing struggle between Israel and its neighbors. They also underscore the importance of covenant faithfulness and the consequences of disobedience. So that's what you see. Farmer prophets continues to offer valuable insights into the nature of God, the role of leadership, and the dynamics of human relationships. Okay. Their message of justice, hope, and restoration remains relevant today. Even today, from the books of all these farmer prophets like Joshua, Kings, Judges, and all, even we can connect the history with our history today. Okay. So that's uh, what we can, if we can take case studies, if we can do some case studies like this, comparing that one and this one, that will be very nice. But anyway, so we can compare for our nation and also the nations in this, uh, which is actually historical books of the farmer prophets. Okay, thank you. So we finished now the farmer prophets.
Next, we'll go to, okay, we have another